I can't even believe what I'm hearing right now that is news around the UFC going on regarding their UFC 320 plans and their plans with the featherweight division. Like, if this really is about to happen, that is just disgraceful. Like, what are we even doing, UFC? This doesn't make any sense. To do Volk versus Yair Rodrigues at UFC 320 in Guadalajara, Mexico. Really? That's where you go. This is the direction you want to go in when you have a clear number one guy in Movsar Evloev. Like this, I can't even believe this is in the conversations, and Yair Rodrigues actually, after one bounce back win versus Patricio Pitbull, is actually going to get a title shot. When we're talking some of the most disgraceful, undeserved title shots, this is one of the worst. This would be one of the worst decisions they've made in like a few years. And just when you thought that the UFC was doing a great job, which they are, in matchmaking and putting on an amazing 2025, the beginning I was like iffy. Now we're going into the summer. It's loaded. 317, 318, 319, sick pay-per-views. So I could say now for a fact that right now the UFC is not fumbling 2025. But if this is really the direction they're going in, this is absolutely pathetic that they would do this, because Yair Rodrigues does in no way, shape, or form deserve a title shot right now. No way. I don't even understand like how. I understand that they want to put Yair Rodrigues, who's probably the only like prominent Mexican featherweight in the division, to headline a card in Mexico. But at the end of the day, it's got to make sense, and this does not make any sense. You have a fire matchup in Diego Lopez and Yair Rodrigues at your fingertips. It makes sense. They're both. Yair Rodrigues came off the win. Lopez came off the loss. They had trash talk at the press conference, so there's fuel to the fire there. You can make that on that card and save Volk to fight Movsar Evloev, who is clearly the number one guy up next. Okay, maybe you didn't want to put him up on the vacant title. Okay, but then to say that he needs one more fight to get that title shot versus Volk when he's clearly the number one guy, whether you like him or not, whether he's exciting or not, whether he has the charisma, the finishes, whether he has that or not, it does not matter. This is clearly the next guy to get that title shot, because there's nobody else right now that has the kind of resume. He's one of the only undefeated fighters. He's one of the few select undefeated fighters left in the UFC, sitting at 19-0. And shout out to him. He's been a class act. He's saying in his tweets that respect to the champ, for wanting to fight me, but either way, I'm taking the fight, whether there's risk or reward. See you in Abu Dhabi. So now we have confirmed that Movsar is going to be in the Abu Dhabi card. It's going to be stacked now when you have Whitaker, DeRitter, and then probably Movsar's the co-main event. People are saying Aaron Pico. But still, this is not right. I really hope the UFC puts a last-minute switch to their plans and moves Movsar to be fighting Volk. Whether he's exciting or not, he deserves the title shot next, because that is how this sport should work. The next best guy up should get the title shot, and not Yair Rodrigues, who is coming off one win versus a guy making his debut from Bellator, and before that, lost. And was in actually two losses. Lost to Volk, takes a layoff, comes back, and loses to Brian Ortega via submission. I get it. The UFC wants to line up great Mexican champs. Okay, put Brandon Moreno on the card for Mexico. You got to put Moreno and Rodrigues on there. But to have Rodrigues headline, it's just, I can't believe it. It doesn't make any sense. Like that they're going this direction. It's just disgraceful matchmaking to the sport. It's even worse than, what's the most recent example I could give? It's one of the worst undeserved title shots you could give right now, to really just hand that to Yair Rodrigues. Movsar, he's 19-0. Couple wins in the UFC versus nobodies, builds his way up. And then you see right here his 4 last ranked wins. Starts with Dan Ige, beats Dan Ige. Then fights Diego Lopez, former title challenger, who was on a win streak after the Movsar loss. Then beats Arnold Allen in Canada. And then most recently in UFC 310 on the prelims, beats Aljamain Sterling, a former bantamweight champion. And it was a very close fight, but Movsar wins. I get it. He's a decision machine. He may not be entertaining. The UFC is trying it with all their power to not allow another boring fighter like him to get to the top of the division and claim that belt. He's part 3 of like Bilal Muhammad and Magomed Ankalaev. But it doesn't matter. It's just the right fight to make next, to give Volk the toughest matchup in the division, not Yair Rodrigues, who's a little flop up to boost Volk's legacy. Volk already defined his legacy even more with just by getting the belt back. And honestly, we want to see it though. We want to see Volk be tested in what could be one of the final fights of his career. This guy, Volk, just reclaimed the belt. It's extremely hype. Best featherweight ever to get the belt back. And you want his first title defense to be a real competitive and meaningful fight. We've seen this movie before. We've seen him versus Yair Rodrigues. Yair, he won the interim belt versus Josh Emmett. Bravo to Yair. But then loses an undisputed fight versus Volk. Volk kind of dominated him in that fight. And then Yair Rodrigues comes back, loses to Brian Ortega. And then after another long layoff, comes back and, beats Patricio Pitbull but he didn't even finish him. It was a decision. He beat Patricio Pitbull. Okay, he looked kind of crisp. He looked kind of good. He had some really cool strikes and head kicks. The way that Yair Rodrigues strikes. But clearly the sediment that we walked away from after the results of this card is Yair should fight Diego Lopez next. And that could be his number one contenders fight. That should be the right fight to sort it out. And really, I don't even know, why they're not doing that. I think the rumors are that they're going to pair Gene Silva with Diego Lopez, which is also a sick fight, in maybe UFC New Orleans, which would be crazy. They stack that onto that card. Gene Silva versus Diego Lopez. I love that fight. And that Movsar is going to be fighting in July in Abu Dhabi versus maybe Aaron Pico. So that leaves Rodrigues and Volk at the top of this featherweight division. I mean, put Rodrigues versus... You have Arnold Allen waiting in the wings. You have this and that. But it does not make sense that they give him this title shot just because it's in Mexico and you need that pay-per-view headliner. It really doesn't make any sense. And I really just hope this doesn't happen. You're going to come after such an amazing summer with all the right matchups. Topuria, Oliveira, Holloway, and Poirier. You had to do that. I don't know what else people expected for Poirier's last fight. It makes sense. And then Dricus versus Hazmat, one of the highest level matchups you could get. The best fighting the best in the middleweight. And then you come right back to an undeserved, pathetic main event with Volkanovski in his first title defense after getting the belt back versus Yair Rodrigues, who still needs another win to really claim another title shot. Not because he just beat Patricio Pitbull by decision, who's a Bellator fighter making his debut, and then because he's Mexican. Yair Rodrigues ain't that type of guy. He ain't that it factor fighter that you're rushing to give back another title shot. Even, I don't even understand it. Sean O'Malley is getting the title shot in 2 weeks. And he's getting an immediate title shot after losing the title. Bilal's not going to get that kind of treatment. If Magomed probably loses in Pereira with the next fight, he's probably not going to get that treatment either. So they're really doing Movsar dirty. They really are. To have to make him fight another time in July. Although it will make that card better. But at the same time, it will feel so like what are we doing? Why are we wasting time? Why are we just put Movsar up against Volk? If Movsar is whatever the decision boogeyman and he's going to be boring and he's going to end up wrestling the hell out of Volk and he gets the belt, okay, but you got to make it. Whether Volk wins or you got to make the matchup. Yeah, so this is already becoming a very realistic possibility for UFC 320 when you look at if Movsar is going to be fighting on July, then they're going to be having Volk headline in Mexico, and especially against Yair Rodrigues, who doesn't deserve it. Makes no sense. Put him up against Diego Lopez, and yeah, that's my feelings on this for now. Until next time.